Anatomy of Consciousness, Revised Edition, Ishwar Puri. This book is dedicated to my wife. Introduction. It was some 20 years ago, during 1966-67, when, in connection with my research, I received the idea of writing. I kept on toying with the idea for long, and could not do anything concrete until one evening in June 1982, when a friend transcribed a few tapes and got a few books printed. Joyous at this initial success, I took to this work more seriously. The incorrigible optimist that I am, I attended more to action than to words of caution. For people came to listen to me, and I have been amply rewarded. Luckily for me, there has been a very warm and encouraging response. Believing in the breadth of vision as the spirit of philosophy, I took care that the volume should not project or promote a single point of view, but be a comprehensive conspectus that reflects all shades of opinion, and, as such, mirrors the contemporary philosophic scene in its true colors. I wanted to, and happily can, compare it with an art gallery, where works of all styles are exhibited, from the traditional to the modern, from the conformist to the nonconformist, from the graphic to the abstract, and so on. For if we, for example, begin with the soul, wherein it is maintained that the soul, like other natural existence, has evolved, that it is not only born and grows, but can also decay and disintegrate, then we also have a view that the soul is eternal, unborn, immortal, and indestructible. I am quite sure that anybody who cares to turn the pages of this volume shall find something of interest to him or her. Naturally, I am happy and proud of the fact that this labor of love has been brought to a successful culmination. Apparently, it is a one-man show, but I must and do realize that even a one-man show is not possible without countless number of persons toiling behind the scenes. I am fully aware that my role has been nothing more than that of a zero, the value of which is only because of the numbers going along with it. It is to that effect that I thankfully acknowledge the debt of gratitude that I owe to all who helped. I do not want to diminish my gratitude by mentioning names. Ishwar Puri, New Delhi, 1986. Chapter 1. Self-Realization. Why did Socrates suggest that we should know ourself? No one had ever suggested that one know oneself, because all knowledge is always of something else. A man may know millions and millions of things. He can become acquainted with the whole world, but if he is not aware of the knower, he is still ignorant. He may become very knowledgeable, but he will not become wise. He may collect a lot of information and much knowledge, but the basic thing which makes one a knower is lacking. He is not aware of himself. But what, you may ask, is there to know about the self? It looks a little strange that this question should even be asked. People like Socrates are continually telling you to know thyself. But you do not want to know yourself. You have already decided that you know who you are. But do we really know what the self is? Even men with great philosophical and scientific insight are perplexed by this question. We are the self. What else is there to know about it? It seems very strange and even unnecessary that this question has continued to be asked for over 2,000 years. But it is a question still posed and still not fully answered. The most important question that mankind has ever encountered is, who am I? But it is a question which cannot be answered by anyone other than yourself. You have to look within your own self for the answer. You have to search. You have to become a seeker. It is a question which is absolutely private, and only you are capable of knowing the answer. It can only be answered through a deep inquiry into the core of your own being. Today there are thousands of philosophers, poets, yogis, and so on, who are still busy working on this problem of knowing thyself. In Indian lore, there is a story of a man who went to a yogi and knocked at his door. The yogi said, "Who's there?" But there was no answer. There came a second knock, and again the yogi asked, "Who's there?" Still there was no answer. The yogi shouted, "Why don't you say who you are?" Still no answer came. Third knock, the yogi screamed, "I said, who are you? What do you want?" The man answered, "If I knew that, I would not be knocking at your door. I have come precisely for the answer to this question." This is the case with all of us. You are aware that, deep down within you, somehow you are missing. You exist, but you don't know why. You don't know how. You don't even know who exists within you. You are somehow absent. You exist absently. You exist, but you do not know what this you is. You do not know thyself. Man is unable to explain what he himself is, and this absence of self-knowledge has caused us to identify ourselves with the things we possess, instead of the one who possesses the thing. What is mine cannot be me. It is this false identification with what is mine, but which could not possibly be me, that creates all of our problems. Whatever is mine cannot be me. If I say that this thing is mine, then it cannot be me. If I say that this jacket I am wearing is mine, then I clearly understand that the jacket is not me. When I assert that this jacket is mine, I am consciously aware of the fact that I am different from the jacket. That is why I call it mine, and not me. I possess it, I own it and use it, I wear it. It is something that belongs to me, something I carry around with me, but it cannot be me. This mine-me distinction must be clearly understood in order to fully grasp the extent of the fallacy we are making regarding what we are. We say that this body is mine, yet this body cannot be me. We say that these are my eyes, yet these eyes cannot be me either. We say that this is my mind, yet the mind cannot possibly be me. My soul, my emotions, my this and my that, none of these things could possibly be me by the simple understanding of the mind-me distinction. Then what is the me? All that we have been identifying as the self belongs to us, but is not actually us. If it were, then we wouldn't call it mine. We would say it's me. What the me is, we have not been able to say yet. You have never encountered yourself. You have never come face to face with yourself. There has been no meeting. You simply believe you are this or that you are the things you have become identified with. Whenever we have attempted to describe ourself, we have only been able to describe that which belongs to us. Therefore, if we ever want to understand what is the me, we must first discover who is saying, "This is mine." Who is claiming? Who is this claimant who is saying the body is mine, the mind is mine, the soul is mine? Who is claiming all this? If we can discover who this claimant is, we will be able to finally answer the question, what is the self? Therefore, let us examine what it is that is making these various claims, This house is mine, this family is mine, these children are mine, this body is mine, and so on. It does not take very long to discover that it is human consciousness that is making all these claims. If we were not conscious and not human, no such claims could be made. If you were unconscious, you could never make all these claims. Therefore, the identity of the individual who is continually claiming that this or that is mine is linked directly and exclusively with his own consciousness. Without it, no claims can be made. Human consciousness seems to provide the answer as to what the self is. Knowing this, you will know thyself. In the journey towards knowing the self, all we have to do is discover the nature of our own consciousness. How are we conscious? What makes us conscious? What makes us aware? Most people feel we are experiencing human awareness because we have a brain, that the phenomena of awareness and sensory perceptions are being generated by the human brain, which, while we are alive, creates consciousness. But this is not entirely true. There are many instances where, while alive, we do not experience awareness, and yet the brain and the entire physical system remains functional. Examine the state of deep sleep. When we are in a state of deep sleep, our brain is there, not the body, and all of its support systems are still intact. We are alive, and yet we are not conscious. We do not experience awareness. If the experience of consciousness was merely based on the physical apparatus in the human body, then consciousness could not be shut off while the physical system is still. Moreover, even if it is the brain in the physical body that generated human consciousness, there are still many species of conscious experience which cannot be attributed to it. Certain cases of extrasensory perception, such as recall of previous lives, reincarnation, are clear instances of the functioning of consciousness outside of the data field available to the human brain and the physical system. Leaving out these extrasensory experiences going on in human consciousness, if we confine our examination to simply non-wakeful experiences, we discover that we are still able to have conscious perceptions which are not part of the physical system, i.e., dreams. Some dreams are so fantastic and bizarre that they cannot be traced to any experience or data picked up by the physical brain during the wakeful state of consciousness. The perceptive apparatus of the physical body, which picks up experience via its sensory systems, receives impressions of the world around us, which in turn travel from the organs of perception through the nervous system, and finally the brain picks up these messages. But it is only when we are conscious that the brain will pick up these impressions. Please make a note of this. If consciousness, which must causally precede experience, were not there, the brain will not pick up any of the messages coming through the nervous system. If we are not conscious, the brain will not generate any response, even though it is functioning. Therefore, consciousness, per se, is the basis of perception and not the physical brain. However, the question of what makes us conscious still remains unanswered. The question of what causes us to be conscious is a question that we have all been asking ourselves for thousands of years, and still we have not found the answer. Our scientists have only been able to tell us which part of the brain expresses this or that aspect of consciousness. They are able, to some extent, to tell us which part of the brain is at work when we have audio or visual perceptions, and so on. But what is actually causing conscious perception, they cannot say. They have not, in spite of their elaborate equipment and labs, been able to find this out. They can only say that a certain part in the center of the brain, which descends down into the medulla oblongata, into the spine, when choked off, shuts down most of our perceptive experiences, but not all. You still retain some control over a few of the motor activities. Therefore, our scientists cannot say that consciousness is controlled and generated by this part of the human brain, because it is not. In fact, our scientists still have very limited information on what constitutes consciousness. They still do not know what makes a man conscious. But it has become obvious, especially to scientists working in this field, that what enables us to be conscious is not something that is material. Yet it does seem to be embodied in matter, in the physical brain, or in this physical body somewhere. But somehow or other, we are still capable of having conscious experiences outside of the domain and field of data available to the physical system, i.e., certain types of dreams. In certain dreams, people have dreamt that they were a little bird and that they flew out of a window, and so on. They personally experienced being a bird. I am taking this kind of dream simply as an example of a non-wakeful conscious experience, and not for any other reason. Don't give it too much importance. But suppose you were to go to sleep and have this kind of a dream in which you are a bird. You become a bird and fly out of the window. You will then have the conscious experience of being a bird, that you are actually a bird. Upon awakening, naturally you will discover that you are not a bird, but a human being with a human body. You realize that you don't have feathers, that you don't have wings, and so on, and that you cannot fly. There is no resemblance between the bird and yourself, but still you do not say, "In my dream I saw a bird that flew out of a window." You will say, "I was a bird and I flew out of the window." The experience retained the personal self. It retains your own human consciousness, and if you say to a friend that last night you dreamt that you were a bird, flying all around, your friend will say that this is simply nonsense. There is no resemblance between you and a bird. Just say that you saw a bird flying in your dream last night. Otherwise, people will think you are either stupid or have gone mad. But you will say, "No, I didn't see a bird. I wasn't looking at some bird flying out of a window. I was a bird. I never saw it. I flew. I was flying." It is the retention of the identity of being the same conscious experiencer when awake, whose body became that of a bird, which compels you to make this claim. Here is a conscious experience quite outside of the physical body. Human consciousness is thus capable of having awareness in the form of a bird or otherwise, and can generate an experience of the world around it. Even dream bodies, which are bodies different from the human body with which we have identified ourselves, are also assumed to be the origin of human consciousness. In a dream, consciousness functions in a different form from this physical body. We walk around all over and come back to this form only when we awaken. Consciousness, the capacity of the human self to have awareness and generate conscious experience of the world around it, could not possibly be generated by the physical body or any part of it, i.e., the physical brain. Therefore, no wonder we say, "This is my body," and that it is not me. It is just proper that we say this, because me is the consciousness that claims that this body is used by it, that it belongs to me, I just function through it. What then is consciousness without the physical body, without a dream body, and so on, like? The practitioners of the art of self-realization, based on their own personal experiences, have constructed a very simple model of the structure and anatomy of human consciousness.